Okay, one last item in this section on timers, and that's using timers as counters. Now, if you remember what I've been saying, timers are counters. What they do is they count the rising edges of the peripheral bus clock, but they're set up to count edges. It doesn't matter where the edges come from. So it's quite possible to use an external source of edges as a timer. So you could have an external clock source coming in and it could use that clock for the timing. Or maybe you're not interested in timing. Maybe you're just interested in the counting. So every time an edge comes, you just want it to count how many edges have come in. Lots of cases in our physics labs where that's useful. So how are we going to do that? Well, in the configuration, all you have to do is, instead of being an internal source, use an external source. So let me go back to this page. And the clock source can be either external or internal. There's a little bit of a warning here that if you're going to use timer 1 as external source, make sure that you also have this, okay? Right? The other clocks doesn't apply. It's only for T1. Okay. Okay. So let's go back here, right? So we now know how to change the configuration to do an external source, but it can't be an external source from just any pin, right? If you were using timer 1, there's actually a pin called timer 1 clock input, and it's a dedicated pin. So I've just brought up the pin out diagram, and here you can see that pin 12 is T1, right? So timer 1 clock, or clock input, right? It's pin 12, also known as array 4. Okay, so that's where that's coming from. Going back to my notes, right? So you can use T1 CK if you're using timer 1 as the counter. For the other timers, 2, 3, 4, and 5, then you get to use a programmable pin, right? So they don't have dedicated pins. So you go through our list and you choose which pin you want to make TXCK. Be sure to make the pins digital inputs, right? We do that as precaution every time. Sometimes it doesn't matter, but sometimes it can screw up whatever your program is. So let's now look at a program to do that. Okay. So here I have pin 12 array 4, and I'm making sure it's a digital input. Here's the open timer, where I'm saying I'm using the external source, and because I'm using the external source, I've included this, right? Only for timer 1. None of the other timers have this command. Okay? And I'm using a scalar of 1. I want it to be for every button press. And here it's up to 10. Okay? So I clear the flag and I rate the timer as 0. I'm probably never going to want to use a 32-bit clock. I'm not likely to end up pressing any button 4 billion times. So 16-bit clock is probably fine. And I probably don't even need to clear the flag because we're just reading the timer all the time. So it's not likely that I'm going to be hitting enough buttons enough time to make the flag actually go to 1. Okay, so in this code here, all it does is it reads the timer, right? And it says if new count, which is the read timer value, is greater than the old count starts at 0, right? So if I don't press any buttons, new count retimer will always be 0. Right? But the first time I press it, it'll go up. And each time I press it, I'll get the new one going until we hit rollover, right? Once this goes to 10, the next time it starts from 0 again. So this will never be exceeded. Okay? So let me show you what the code looks like in action in PuTTY. Okay, so here's the code. I'm going to start pressing the button. Right? You'll see that happened a little quick. That's probably a bit of the debouncing, and this button's a little old. Hold on. Suddenly stopped acting for me. Loose wire. Reset. I keep pressing, nothing happens because we said it's only go to 10. Start again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. I'm going to see if I can make it wobble a bit and see if I can get some funny counts out of it. Not really seeing anything here. Try it one more time. Okay. Didn't skip any numbers this time, but sometimes because of the bouncing of the contact, the read counter can actually jump up a couple at a time. So you might want to put a little delay in between the count reads. But that shouldn't be too much of a problem here. Anyhow, that's the last on timers. Thanks for now.